Welcome to the TLC Unleashed Show, Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life with your host, Traci Lynn, on the Power of Voices Radio.
We share this place, we all belong. Light the way till dark is gone. Walking away still means you're strong. Rise above, hope isn't gone. We have to restore this planet's soul. Teach it something more than what we know. Give it water, give it sun, room to grow. I can see a better tomorrow.
Welcome to the show tonight. Live in the studio, Victoria Plummer. Amazing, amazing job. Listen to that beautiful voice.
So
Welcome. Sweet. Amazing. Thank you for opening the show with your beautiful voice. And we also have in the studio today, Claire Dubois. So welcome. It is Team Women Empowerment Show tonight. So you have it here. We've got the ladies in the house, and we're going to talk all about their careers and what they're doing and how it all started and began for them. So Victoria Plummer, she is an actress, a singer, songwriter. She dances. You do a little bit of everything.
I didn't know you know that. Yeah,
oh, of course I do. I do my homework. I've seen you perform at NAMM in January.
That's right. You were at NAMM.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Thank you for coming out to support. Artists always appreciate that because getting people to come out is sometimes a pain.
Yes.
But, you know, NAMM is kind of cool, so I had a little bit of an edge there.
You did amazing. And, I mean, you actually, it's one of those performances where you see it and you have tears because you have so much respect for the singer. And being, you know, as a friend as well, I'd never seen you perform before. See, I actually already feel that feeling again. It's like you get choked up because you did such a phenomenal job, but you put your heart and soul, and it was the passion that was behind it. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, thank you
Don't
so
make me
much
cry
for
in
saying
air.
that. You know what? It was actually such an honor because, you know, Garbage was such a huge band, you know, and they're growing up. And they've got they went like several times platinum. Yeah. And so to be asked to sing her song in front of her as she was being honored was just like a very humbling moment for me. And I was so honored to be there. And when when you're on stage, and I know you know this because you're an artist yourself with fitness and all. You kind of like, it's almost like just the best version of yourself comes out of you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's a hard thing, too, because performing, you got to be on cue, you got to be, the timing, everything has to be right. You were dancing up a storm and you had a sexy outfit on, you know, that's all hard to do to put together.
You know what, it was, but I actually had Beyonce's house band was playing behind me, which obviously makes things much cooler. And so I was like, okay, like, it's so funny because you have to think about all the technique that goes into everything. Like, obviously, you have to remember the words, you have to remember the notes, you have to remember, keep your eyebrows up, keep your tongue forward, keep your cheeks up, keep your diaphragm moving, keep your ears, you know, all these things. But then you have to think about nothing at all.
And then you have to let go.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
Then you have to let go and
it's
let it
an
take
art.
you.
Yeah. And it's so cool because you're like, oh, these things are happening. And then all of a sudden, when you're on stage, you start hitting notes that you didn't even know that you could hit because adrenaline happens and you're just in the moment. And it's almost like you just black out. And it's just like, everything comes out.
You're like, did I just make that sound? Did this just come out of this
happened?
body? Well, you
I didn't
nailed
practice
it.
that.
And can you explain to the viewers and listeners what NAMM is? Because not a lot of people know what that show is.
Yeah, NAMM is the biggest music convention pretty much in the world, right? And they sell instruments, they have big acts and performances. I performed specifically at the She Rocks event, which obviously, as I said before, I was doing that song to honor. What did I sing? I'm only happy
Garbage.
when it rains.
Yes.
By Garbage. And so she was being honored. Brian, who else was being honored that night?
Lita Ford.
Lita Ford. I was in rehearsal space with Lita Ford at the basement in North Hollywood, which is a very, very, very tiny room. And I know her songs, but I didn't know what she looked like.
Oh my gosh.
So I was in there, I'm like, oh yeah, you're doing that one. I love that song. Great cover. You sound just like the artist. I didn't say that, thank God. But yeah, and I was like, okay, cool. And we started like singing together, and and then we're on stage, and the way she's talking to the house band, she really knows her stuff. I was like, she's a baddie.
She is incredible.
Yeah,
she is a legend beyond legend.
She was the first female artist on the cover of the Rolling Stones.
Yes.
That's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
Huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Talking about being a huge deal, we have Claire Dubois, all the way from the UK originally, here in the studio live tonight with Tree Sisters. And we're going to be talking all about your organization, how it became, and you are the founder of Tree Sisters. So please share with the world what Tree Sisters is and how you founded it.
That's a huge thing. Before we go there, I just want to acknowledge the pair of you, because you just started with a kick-ass song, and you just showed up. You just showed up like fully, authentically, and gave your gift. And you're sitting here giving us this space to share what we are and who we are and what is coming through us. And to me, women, we need each other. Like, we need each other's permission. We need each other's courage. We need each other's authentic expression in the world, because we're frightened, so many of us, to bring our gifts. And so I just want to say to the both of you, amazing job at just showing up and giving your gifts and walking your talk and being what I call walking permission for other people to say, you know what, if they can do it, maybe I can do it.
I love that. And that's kind
Beautiful.
of why we do it, right? Is part of it.
Well, we do it for a lot of different reasons.
Yes.
Some people stand up because they're pissed off with being small. Other people show up because they desperately need the adulation to believe in themselves. And other people just have a gift and they can't not let it come.
Yeah.
We all do it for very different reasons. But as women, the reality of shining is not the easiest thing in the world. It just isn't, no matter what family you come from. Our conditioning says, hey, that's not safe. And so anyone who's giving their gifts and standing up and shining the way you are and daring it, you're moving a whole load of stuff through your system on behalf of all of us.
Oh, man. And being aware that your light shining doesn't dim anyone else's. Or that anyone else's doesn't dim yours.
Which is a huge thing for us as women.
Huge.
I love it. And I also have another woman that's big in my life, Forbes Riley. I was at a seminar with her, a conference this year, and she was talking about not playing small anymore, especially as women. And, you just saying the permission, giving myself and allowing myself that permission to be me and be authentic and be my true self and be able to explore that and express that to the world. So
it's so important.
Yes, absolutely. And it's okay for us to let other women know that it's okay, because we are scared as women to really show who we are.
I know. It's so funny because I feel like it's something, I mean, not to take this to just a super deep level, but it almost feels like it's something deeper coming out through us.
That's why I say,
right?
when
We're
you
like
stand
a vessel.
there, you've got all the technical things that you're supposed to be doing, but then you actually just have to let your own soul rip its way through your system and show you who you are.
That's exactly
And that
it.
is actually complete nudity on stage. That's what, when Eve Ensler stands up there and she does her one-woman show about her cancers and things, I'm sitting there saying, Eve, do you have any idea of the alchemy that you're performing on behalf of everyone? You're bringing us all into your internal world, the nightmare that you went through. You're living it again and again, and you're taking people on that journey, and you're the focal point of that transformation because you're willing to move it through your body.
She's the face
that is
of
magic.
it. Yeah, it's your
magic.
diary
It's
screaming
so
out loud.
So important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny. It reminds me of a story, too, when I competed for my very first time. And my dad came to my show, and it was very big because growing up, I didn't spend a lot of time with my dad. So it was a real big day for me. And I had lost my mom that previous year. And so it was a very significant show for me. I was actually dedicating that fitness competition to my mom, who passed from cancer. And my dad said to me after, he goes, aren't you nervous? You're standing up there pretty much naked in front of everyone. And I said, I never really thought about it like that. And him and my sister were like, well, how did you think about it? You're wearing like this little tiny bikini, itty bitty bikini on a stage in front of hundreds of people.
You couldn't pay me.
And I said,
you couldn't pay me.
And I go, well, now that you made it sound like that, I still had a night show to go. And I was thinking, oh, okay, well, thanks for making me think about that.
But I wasn't nervous before, but now.
Exactly.
Be
that
afraid.
leg twitching and
Very,
the
very
cheek
afraid.
twitching we were talking about. I thought about that later, but then I thought, it's not what this is about. This is about people seeing me at my best version of myself because I worked hard to be here. It wasn't about the physical body. It wasn't about the outer body. It was about what I did, the level of discipline, the art, and every single thing I did behind the scenes that nobody saw. When I wanted to cheat on my diet, when I didn't want to go to the gym, when I was too tired, when I was too hungry, when I couldn't sleep, all those things played into my mind when I got up on that stage and I went, I am here because I'm supposed to be and I earned this spot.
That's so cool to me because fitness is one of those things you can't fake it.
No.
You can't buy it.
No.
You can't get it any other way but by hard work and discipline.
Yeah.
And like even in music, like some, artists, it's all production or, paint, like there's always ways like kind of, you can't cheat with fitness.
Yeah.
You can't. That's just your mental state. You're just willing to go there and you do.
Yeah, and you explained it too as well. All the things with the tongue, this and that, and the air and everything. Yeah. You practice the same thing in your way, and
and I don't.
Yeah,
I do not.
No, but Claire,
it's okay.
What you're giving back and what you were doing, I commend you, and I have so much admiration for you, for what you're doing. And the Tree Sisters is so much more than just the Tree Sisters, and that's why we're so excited and honored to have you here today to explain to us because. You are this woman that's strong and powerful, but you are changing the world. You absolutely are.
One tree and one woman at a time. I want to share a story with you just because I want everybody to know this. It's not actually how Tree Sisters started. I will tell you what it is. But it's a story that is a transmission of something because I first started having nightmares about climate change in my 20s, so 25 years ago. And I would dream that there were no more clouds. And I would wake up completely terrified. There's no more clouds. There's no more clouds. It's going to stop raining. That's it. It's going to stop raining. And I didn't know about climate change back then. But I became cloud obsessed. Like I would go out and take photographs, these beautiful clouds. I'd be drawing them at night. I'd be like praying to the clouds and, please let it not stop raining. And so years later, probably 10 years later, I was at a Five Rhythms dance retreat, as I was wont to do. And it was New Year's Eve. And as the New Year treat, we were asked to do ritual theater, which is my idea of just rip my teeth out and, hang me from my hair. You want me to do ritual theater, which basically meant you were all separated out into your little pods, and then you had to they'd give you your title. This is what you're doing, and this is what you're doing. Now you've got 15 minutes to go off and prepare your theater.
Oh,
and then you
yes,
come back
I've done that.
and you perform this thing that is supposed to be a transmission of something glorious, which has everybody go, wow, how wonderful, and then we're all really ecstatic. Mine was the rape of the earth. Which was kind of like, oh God. And I thought, well, the person who's going to have to do the least is the earth because I'm just going to get raped. So what they did was they dressed me in everybody's clothes, so I looked like a complete bag lady, and I'm sitting on a throne and I'm handing out cups of tea, and they start dancing around me and they start like pulling off my clothes and ripping off my scarves and taking my hat off, and like they're drilling me and they're mining me and they're deforesting me and they're fracking me and they're treating me the way that we treat our planet, which is completely disrespectful, as if she isn't a living entity, as if we can demolish her and she'll keep feeding us, everything that we know but we don't want to know because we've been conditioned into the way that we are conditioned to perceive. And all the while I'm handing out cups of tea because, bless her heart, we're trashing her and she's still providing and she's still providing, and we still keep having our meals and not thanking her, and we still keep taking what we want and not thanking her. And eventually I'm naked on this chair, and I'm supposed to do this like blood-curdling howl and hurl myself on the floor. And so I wailed as well as I could, and I hurled myself on the floor. And they're going to come together and have this little powwow and go, ooh, wow, maybe we shouldn't trash our planet. Maybe we should put her back on her throne. But I'm lying on the floor, and I'm going into complete shock. I went freezing cold. And there's this old nursery rhyme going around, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And it's going round and round and round in my head. And I'm just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it's like this rising, just like, you can't put a planet into therapy. You can't, like, it's going to be over. Like, we're fucked. Like, it was just like, God, this is it. And then they're like, oh, happy moment. They picked me up and they put me back on my throne and they dressed me, and I looked up and I was crying and the whole room was crying, and I was still in shock. And then they took me off my throne and they put me down, and we watched the next bit of ritual theater, and I don't remember a thing about it. And I'm still sitting there and I'm just like, I'm gone. I was just gone. And then there was this present giving bit of the evening, and somebody handed me this little parcel, and I opened it, and it was a book with a cloud on it. It'll make me cry again. Here I go.
They didn't.
It was a book with a cloud. Nobody knew, and it just said, "You can change the world." And I burst into tears, and I couldn't stop. I could not stop. I was howling. I was howling so badly. I had to be taken out of the room, and I was walked around the gardens, and I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And what was happening to me wasn't just this realization that I love this planet so much. I have given my life to her, and I will give the rest of my life to her. It wasn't even that. It was the fact that I knew I had to give my life to her, and my bullshit side was going, "You're nothing. You're inadequate. You can do nothing. What can you possibly do? There's nothing that you can do. What will people think if you you stand up and have a go? What will, And this other part of me is going, "My world is dying. Will you shut up? Like, I have to do something." And she's like, "No." Like, as much as my hysteria was rising, this other part of me was getting louder and louder. Yeah. "You are nothing. You can do nothing." And I'm watching it, and there's a third part of me that's sort of rising up above both these bits going, "Wow, look at this. Like, this is why humanity is stuck. Mm-hmm. Wow. We're watching, we daren't feel it, we don't know what to do, we don't believe that we can do anything, and so we won't have a go." And I was like, I have to have a go. Like, I have to shut this part of me up, or I have to, like, come into some sort of a enlightened relationship with her, but I have to give my life, because I can't go a second more not knowing what I've just felt and not knowing that this is everything. Like, if I'm alive at this time, if I am watching our future going to hell in a handbasket, if I look at every child on the street and say, "Hey, no, it's fine, I'm just going to keep consuming, and to hell with your future, because basically you don't have one," which is where we're going. Yeah. Forget about the species, forget about weather, forget about seasons, forget about, we're watching it all going, but we're going to carry on as normal. Like, I can't do it for a second any longer. And so I share that with you because I want desperately for nature to be present in every interaction that we do. That's what I'm for. Like, it's like this bloodied corpse that we're beating is our planet right now, and we're wondering why she can't stabilize herself anymore. And every interaction that we have should have the natural world being restored. It's like, I want to see, this is why in Tree Sisters I'm saying, not just we're reinstating the feminine principle, we're helping women recognize that our leadership is a completely different quality, that we have to rebalance this world, but that we need to shift from an unconscious consumer species to a conscious restorer species, where we are willing to bow in humility before the exquisiteness of this world that we have, and start to serve her back into balance, because that's just a choice away. And, the reason I also say that is because our insecurities are lies. They're not true. I mean, that's why I said the pair of you are extraordinary, that you stand up, but they feel true because our nervous systems are riddled with them. And so as a woman, you go to shine and everything starts shaking, and then you go to shine a bit more and the shaking starts to say you're going to die, and you just got to go, "No, I'm not. That's not mine. This is inherited. I can just burn this off by being present." And to say, we get to live the most meaningful lives that any generation has ever lived if we will take this bull by the horns and just say, what really is a woman, and what can I do to turn this thing around? We all get to play a role, and your insecurities don't mean diddly shit in relationship to the scale of what we're facing. And forgive my language.
If you're aware that your insecurities are speaking, it's that, I feel like everybody has that, but more and more people are listening to the insecure part on this side than they are the, "No, you're bountiful, you can do all things,"
And we feed it each other. We do this wound bonding.
Yeah.
We say, let's come down. And actually what we need to do is redefine sisterhood, redefine what it means to be a woman, and then create a sisterhood within which we consciously say, "No, I am waiting for your magnificence. Show me. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to risk my magnificence, and I need you to honor me." And together we stop competing with each other, and we start lifting each other up. Not in the superficial way, in the deep way that says, who are you as a woman?
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
And that's so beautiful. And I thank you for sharing that with us, and that's the thing too. And I really learned a lot about myself as a woman coming from another country to America, coming from Canada. I'm actually, Canadian. So I've been here almost 4 years, but for me, it was really interesting because I came here, I was actually married, and so I had that protection of the man and the husband and that role. So when that dissolved, unfortunately, what happened is I was left to fend for myself as I felt. And so I really, really learned a lot about myself. But the thing I learned too is that empowering women, other
need each
women,
other.
speaking to other women, because I never really told people how I felt before. I never told the insecurities. I never told the lies, the old tape playing in your head all the time.
the real,
I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I can't make it in the business world. I can't do this. I
You're
can't do that.
undeserving. And
And all the stuff that everybody tells you, especially being a successful career woman, everyone was like, you can't do that. How are you going to be on radio? How are you going to be on TV? You're going to interview red carpet celebrities?
So watch me.
Absolutely, I am. Yeah,
This
exactly.
is how you do it. I don't know, but I'm going to discover.
They're like, you
Yeah.
can't do that. I said, yes, I can. You can't do that. That's all I
Yeah.
kept hearing and kept hearing. And so then in my head, I was like, maybe I can. Maybe I can. You go home and you heard that over and over and over. It'd chip away at you.
Yeah.
Until finally I found those few people that were women that empowered me, where I spoke and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I know it's not true, but I need you to, like edify this for me and help me to understand who I am.
Maybe,
And so is the more we speak amongst other women,
Holding each other up.
Exactly.
Being in circle with other women is so powerful.
It is, but also we need to do that for ourselves, because I noticed personally in the past, I like fitness, like it's the pyramid thing. It's, you're physically fit, you go to the gym every day, except for Sundays for me. And then, you eat clean, you've got a little bit of a social life. How much do you work on your spirituality? How much? Like, do you take into account your spirituality at all? Does going to church on Sunday account for your spirituality? Is that it? Do you leave there and that feeds you for the rest of the week? No. You don't just go to class and then expect to get straight A's. You have to go do work on your own. You have to figure it out for yourself. It's self-discovery. It's discovering whatever you believe,
And
but
it's the totality of it as well.
Yeah.
It's body, mind, and spirit. It's that connection. And not a lot of us, take that time out for us. So we have to nourish and nurture ourselves. And that's
Right.
that's the balance. The key word is the balance of life. And
tranquility.
having.
Yeah.
I teach balance, and I have to be one of the most unbalanced people I've ever met.
Isn't that
But
always the way it
sometimes
is?
you're really good at teaching something, but you just don't take your own advice. I hear
Well,
that
of
from people
course.
all the
And
time.
I think we teach the things that we most want to learn.
Oh my
Of course,
God, right?
exactly. We're mirroring that and we're
100%.
seeing that. My clients some days say to me, they're like, you're telling me all this stuff and you got all figured out for me. What about you? And I was like, never mind me. I'm the life coach. I'm the fitness trainer. And they're like, no. You take a day off too.
Yeah.
And my clients now telling me I need to take days off. It's like,
That's
okay,
funny.
maybe I should. So
Yeah.
you get in the car and you start driving. You're
do.
like, oh, thank you. I just got permission from my client
Right.
to take a day off.
It's like most psychiatrists are like have completely crazy lives and upbringings. So that's probably why they went into psychiatry in the first place. Because they're like, why did
Absolutely.
this happen to me as a kid? Why do I like this? I don't know. I'm going to go into psychiatry. Like,
Absolutely.
we teach the things that we want to
do.
know.
And I also
Yeah.
think that inside our greatest fears are often our greatest gifts.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you the
Right.
story of how Traci has happened. So you don't know what it is yet, which is great. Well, so we're basically a global network of women who are looking at the role of feminine leadership in shifting our human species from a consumer species to a restorer species. And we're doing it through feminine empowerment and tropical reforestation. So we're basically saying we make it normal for every single person to give money for trees. We channel that money to the tropics. We're basically sucking the carbon out of the atmosphere by locking it into fast-growing tropical trees, because the trees in the tropics have a year-round growing cycle. And we know fine well that the reason we're in trouble is because we're pumping carbon into the atmosphere with almost everything that we're doing. And so we should all be sucking it back out again, because if we cared, we'd be cleaning up our mess. Anyway, so what happened was I was in love with a reforestation initiative in southern India where I was working called Project Green Hands. And I fell in love with it because it was this amazing unification of social justice, ecological restoration, sustainability, and spiritual fulfillment. It was like this incredible balance. And I wanted to understand how they had managed to basically get a caste culture of 68 million people to start planting millions and millions of trees. And I wanted to figure it out, because if they could do it there, then we could do it somewhere else. And I was distilling the social strategy in the hopes that I could come back to the West and I could find somebody to give it to, and then they would get up and do this work, because I knew it had to be done. It never occurred to me that it would be me. So literally 3 days after I had nailed this strategy down to 7 points, it was like, right, I've got it. I can give it to somebody now. I understand how they're doing it. I was literally going to a meeting that morning. I was driving in the car and I hit sheet ice and I was banging all over the road and I was heading straight for an edge.
Ooh.
And instead I hit a tree.
Oh.
But what's interesting about that, and it took me a while to realize the metaphor that had just happened, was a tree stopped me going over an edge.
Whoa.
And I could have gone over an edge and I could have died, and I didn't, because this
Whoa.
tree stopped me. So I should say, instead of crashing my car into a tree, I got stopped by a tree and I was given my life's mission.
Yeah.
So what happened was I crashed into the tree. There was a blinding flash of white light inside the car, and inside the light were 2 words, the experiment. And I'm looking at these 2 words, and they're literally like hanging in front of me right there.
Yeah.
And this voice starts talking to me in the car, and it says, humanity is running out of time, but it's not over yet. It's going to take all of us rising to the challenge to get through what's coming. The single greatest threat facing humanity is fear of failure. But you can get over that by calling everything you do an experiment, because you can't fail an experiment. You can only learn.
You can learn what not to do.
Well, you can learn. You'll learn.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was amazing, even though I was wrapped around a tree. And then I said, so what's the experiment? And back came, you have to reforest the tropics within 10 years. At which point, my life flashed before my eyes. It didn't happen when I crashed the car. It happened when I realized what I was being asked to do.
Wait, I'm sorry. Just 1 second for clarity. You saw the words, the experiment. All of those thoughts that you just said came into your head.
There was a
and
voice.
then it was a voice.
There was a voice. It was like a man was sitting in the car with me. It was a male voice. And this wasn't like, I'm imagining I'm having these thoughts.
I totally
this
believe
was
you.
like a voice, literally loud.
Like an angel?
Speaking
Like,
to you.
I have no idea. I've never been able to explain it. All I know is a voice started talking and I couldn't not listen to it.
Have you ever heard that
Yeah.
voice again?
Yeah, it came back
You
9 months
did.
later again.
9 months later.
Well, so what happened was, so I had this life flash before my eye thing, or both eyes actually, when I basically, I realized in that moment exactly what I was being asked to do. And then I realized that I was completely inadequate in every respect. Like, I was being asked to start a charity. I was being asked to go out and be a public figure. I was a recluse pretty much at the time. I was being asked, like, I was going to have to start a team. I'd never been in a team. I was going to have to figure out social media and computing. I just hated the damn thing. It was like, you are absolutely nuts. You are.
You're like, no.
But then it got worse. So the voice continued.
Okay.
And it said, you have to mobilize the women. The women are the missing piece. Women are the womb carriers, and Earth is womb. Feminine consciousness is the consciousness of cycles of living systems. Women understand the cycles of life and death that happens in their bodies every month.
Wow.
Women will walk into any system and she will feel how to bring that system back into balance. Nature and women share a common history. What has been done to the natural world has been done to women. And then your project is called Tree Sisters. It's a crowdfunding mechanism. You have to make it as normal for everyone to give back to nature as it currently is to take it for granted. Write that. That's a 180 for who we are. Followed by, and if that was, if reforesting the tropics within 10 years wasn't bad enough, you've got to like swivel us from a consumer species to a restorer species with like somebody shoot me. And then women have to remember who and what they really are. Feminine consciousness has to be reinstated or it's over. End of transmission.
Feminine
Claire-
consciousness has to be
Reinstated or it's over.
over.
This planet won't make it.
And Claire, had you ever read a book on something so descriptive like this that could have, created this thought process for you, or seen a movie on anything like this?
I mean, I've
Documentaries.
always been wacko, so there's I can't. I would be I'd be lying if I said I had a normal life in any way. My life has never been normal.
I feel like you're the only person who's sane and everyone else is completely crazy.
You're not the first person to say that.
Exactly.
Am I wrong?
I look at it that way too.
You're not the only person to say
because
that. You're really
Yeah.
not. It's really interesting.
That's
But
funny you said at the exact same time. I was thinking that you said it.
Yeah, I thought I was like, it's amazing because we all have these we're trying to give back in whatever gift we were given, we try to give back into the world, right? You're blessed, you give back to the kingdom. That's how it works, right? And I'm like, cool. Well,
you
I'm
see,
trying
you say that's how it works. But do you know how many people even think like that?
No.
Do you know how many people even have that in their consciousness?
No.
Like you say
No.
that like blah 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 blah, and it's not.
Oh.
It's not. We don't know that we're here to give back. We don't know how to live in right relationship. We don't know how to honor each other. We don't know how to honor ourselves.
Exactly.
Right.
So how are we supposed to honor others?
We don't know what we don't know. But that's what's so cool about all of this is that you lead by example, right? Because you were given this gift. You heard a voice.
And I said no.
And you're on the radio now.
And the fear creeps in.
And you're not the first person who said no to a voice that told them to do something amazing. And then it happens, and it's fine. Don't worry. But, it's fine. Everything works out.
She says with this sweet little smile. She's like,
it's fun. It's fun.
No, it's like, this is totally not fun. And
this is not
fun.
This is not fun.
Big job.
I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
I'm
It's
doing
a process.
But the reason I wanted to share that story, apart from the fact that it's amazing, and it's an invitation for all of us, because I want everybody to get that you can't fail, is because
I like that.
You very often get asked to do things that make you feel like you're going to have to literally turn yourself inside out. Because essentially life knows us so much better than we know ourselves. So I was inside the bullshit story of my crappy upbringing, which was really brutal. And so I was basically, it is not safe to shine. You do not do anything. You are nothing. You are nothing. You are nothing. Just stay nothing. And that's the safest way to be.
Be as invisible as possible.
And in that car crash, I basically, life just said, it gave me this complete transmission of, this is who you really are. And it was a million miles away from who I was in that moment. And I knew they were right, and I couldn't bear it, and I hated them for it. And I fell into this god-awful depression for 9 months, and it was 9 months, where I was just like, because I knew that I was living a lie, and I was addicted to the lie because it was safe.
Safe
and
is
I wanted
a dangerous
to stay
place to
safe
live.
and small, and I couldn't bear myself, and I couldn't bear that what I knew was up ahead of me. If I said yes, I was terrified. I didn't know how I was going to be that person.
Yeah.
And I was in this washing machine of my own neurotic, nightmarish, hate myself, have to do it, can't do it, blah blah blah. Same thing as when I had that initial, rape of the earth experience, like inside my psychosis, just going. Yeah. For God's sake, what are you going to do? Are you going to live as an apology for the rest of your life? Are you going to stay small, or are you just going to say, okay, I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to have a go?
Exactly.
And I think,
Give it
I think
a whirl,
that's my magic sauce, is that I'm just going to have a go.
100%. It's like, in the Bible they say, if God puts a dream in your heart, he always equips you to do the things that you want to do, and you might not know the way, but he has a way. You just have to trust, and whenever you take a leap of faith, he'll take 5 leaps towards you and meet you.
You're
there.
lovely. Do you know how lovely you are? She's so cool.
You too. I want to hang out with you. I have an extra room. You guys stay at my place tonight.
We're all hanging out.
I know.
I find it interesting that you said 9 months.
I just dated.
9,
right.
9
the
months.
irony, right?
I just dated. This is my baby because I've not had a baby. I've not had a body that's been able to have babies. Like I've miscarried twice, and it was just a case of no, I'm not going to. Parenthood isn't going to happen. But I have a seriously big baby.
Yes.
And she's really demanding, and she's taken all of me. And in the same way that parenting, I think, is an extremely humbling experience for anybody that's been a parent. Trying to birth a global women's movement, trying to birth something where you're told you've got to help women remember who and what they are. And I'm like, I haven't got a clue what a woman is. I've been birthed into this idea that I am nothing, that women are nothing. And I didn't know who I was more frightened of. Was it going to be the women that tried to pull me down, or would it be the men? Like, I was just like, you've got the wrong person. I don't even like women. I went to an all-girls boarding school.
Hey, man.
I was bullied. I was
like, me too.
I learned how to survive without women. They were dangerous. They were catty. They were bitchy. They were the worst. They were just the worst.
Yeah.
And it was like, you want me to build a women's network?
Great.
You want me to teach them how to be women?
Wrong person.
Like, not just the wrong person. This is a friggin' joke.
Yeah.
But then I just thought, okay, so actually what you're saying is I can heal all of that. You're saying, don't believe that what you think you are is what you actually are.
Isn't that amazing?
Because that is what you're perceiving now. It is completely limited. And if you trust life, life will give you a dream that takes you back on a track where you're going home to yourself. Yeah. And it'll be murder, probably, because it means you're going to go through every fear in your nervous system, but it's going to go, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. Here's the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
Here's the truth of who you are. And so now I get to have this, like, I have a radical existence. My life is radical. It's a miracle after miracle. It's terrifying constantly. But I am living the most meaningful life I could ever live. I'm given to the earth. I'm giving to women. I'm given to the healing of this planet. I'm given to consciousness shift. Like, I'm here to shift.
Totally in alignment?
I'm completely in alignment.
Yeah.
Because that's all I want.
And it was like the
I
opposite of the person you thought that you were. But that's not who you were.
No,
this is who
every
you
ounce
are.
of my life force is going towards the future that I want for this species. So I make sense to myself.
Yeah. And that's
beautiful.
all you
And
need
that
to
is
make sense
such
to.
a privilege.
Yeah.
And luckily, I'm married to an extraordinary man who is probably the only person that life could ever have married me to, because he's the only one who loves this planet as much as I do. And so he never questions anything that I do or why I do it, because he knows that everything about me only has one trajectory, and it's not for me. It's for all of life and for all people.
That's cool.
That's a bigger picture.
When you feel like maybe when you start walking in your alignment and you realize that there's something so much bigger than you and that you have a part in that, that's cool.
And do you want to know what else is really cool? So, okay, prepare yourself for really cool.
Okay.
So my name used to be Claire Dakin, which was interesting because actually that meant I was mistaken. So Miss Dakin, so I was mistaken all the time. But I never figured that out until I was 35. But I married my husband, and I was really glad to get rid of my name. And I took his name just because it sounded great, Dubois, like Claire Dubois.
Dubois.
Like,
That does sound
it's
great.
just super lovely.
Sounds
Sipping
like
wine.
wine.
I
Dubois.
know. It's like, just, sip me, It was just beautiful. I didn't know that it means of the woods. So
Stop.
I didn't. So
I can't
married.
take any more.
I didn't
My
know.
arms, my goosebumps cannot stand any taller.
So my name is Clarity of the Woods. That's my name,
Clarity
Claire Dubois.
of the woods.
Claire Dubois means clarity of the woods. So,
That
so
is
life not
amazing.
only gave me the perfect partner and an astonishing role, although it's terrifying, it gave me a name that I get to live up to and live into for the rest of my life.
I'm over it.
Isn't that amazing?
I can't.
Isn't that
I
amazing?
want to take you with me everywhere I go. She's so awesome.
I love it.
Isn't that great? It's great.
amazing.
It's great. Sorry, I just like
Amazing.
I can be
It's
like, that's
amazing.
so
What an
cool, because
That
that's so
is
cool.
cool.
But it was so funny that it took somebody else after the event to say, "Do you know what your name means?" And I'm like, "No." And then I was just
tell
like,
me.
"Wow!" And everyone's
Wait,
going, "Wow,
wait.
that's cosmic."
Did you know that we would be on the show together? That she was like a part of the Tree Sisters, and that my song was called "A Better Tomorrow," talking about watering the earth
No.
and the sun.
No, but I
No,
almost
but
my
everything-
mouth fell open when you suddenly sung about
You
the
know
planet.
that the proceeds all go to St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Yes.
So it's like, in whatever way that we can. Okay, I'm not saving the world, but
We all save our
trying.
world in our own way, and yes, you are, because you're a beautiful human being and beautiful spirit. And to answer that question, the beauty of it all is that your fiance, Link,
yeah.
was supposed to be on the show today. Unfortunately, he wasn't here.
Girl
But-
power.
So this all changed. I was supposed to have another guest who fell ill. So Claire
Six
actually
breasts,
was
very important.
brought on yesterday, and then you were confirmed yesterday. So
Wow.
the show aligned exactly how it was supposed to.
That's insane.
Absolutely incredible.
I mean, honestly,
That's
what
life.
are the odds?
It's life. It's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Life knows
And
what
I'd
it's
like
doing.
to thank my friend Brian
Yes.
Sebastian too, because
Hey, Brian.
it's funny, and he sees the wheels turning as I'm talking. I'm like, oh yeah, Victoria, and this, and I'm asking you questions, and he's like, oh, you get it now, you get it. Oh, you see, oh, now you get it. And I was like,
big
oh,
picture,
this
yeah.
is cool. I like this where it's going.
It's strange that you just so happen to be. I mean, that's exactly what my song is about. A Better Tomorrow is changing
Tell us
the
about the song.
world and changing the planet physically. We just place we all belong. Light the way till dusk is dawn. Sorry, I have to go through the words. But it's
You were
about
watering the planet.
watering the planet and then giving it room to grow.
I know.
And
Okay.
feeding it the sunshine that it needs to sustain life. And then also not just physically the earth, but like spiritually and mentally with the inhabitants of the earth. And then you come on the show, and it's just like perfectly fits. I mean, it's like you've planned this months in advance.
Did you write that song?
I did. I co-wrote it with my friend LV.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's
did you
resonant.
also sing it at the Hollywood Film Festival?
I did. I sang at the Hollywood Film Festival.
with Edie.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
amazing.
yes. With
Her short documentary, and
The Last Ride is what the
Okay.
documentary was called.
incredible.
Yeah.
And Edie is Elvis's cousin.
Yes.
Elvis Presley's
she
cousin.
is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so it all ties together. It was such a beautiful thing because, talking about these experiences, it always felt when I was growing up, I felt exactly like you felt. And I always felt like the odd man out, the odd girl out. It was always like I was a jock, and And I just didn't fit in. I knew I had a higher purpose, and I knew I didn't know what it was. And the reason that I found out is I had had an experience in 2004 where I actually died and I came back to life. Unfortunately, it was self-inflicted at the time. And I woke up and I just, my life completely changed. And it was like, what am I going to do to give back? And that's when I finally realized that is why I was put on this earth. And people always thought I was weird because I was always so loving and I wanted to bring home all the animals and the people. And my mom was like, oh my gosh, here she goes again. But the thing is I knew that I had a higher purpose. And I finally embraced that only just in the last couple of years. And it's been through trauma that I've learned.
Seems to be.
Isn't it always trauma that brings out the best of you?
Yes.
Like, you're like, this is the worst case scenario. Like, nothing can get worse than this, seriously. And then somehow in a strange series of events, it ends up being maybe the best thing that ever happened to you. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I know people say that all the time, but until you have that moment where you're like, oh my God, I get it.
Well, see, this is the thing, and this is why I'm nuts in as much as I'm looking at the chaos. I understand the science. The extinction rate is 1,000 times over. It's what it should be. We're losing life. We're losing everything right now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why aren't you miserable as all hell? And I do have phases where I get extremely depressed. And, there are times when I can't get off the floor and then I have to cry until I can get back up. But what I understand is the nature of our species. We will continue to operate in a certain way because of like a collective momentum of consciousness. Like we're used to being a certain way and we're conditioned that way. And our conditioning feels safe. Whether it's completely mad or not, it feels safe. And so we'll stay with it. It has to be a colossal disruption. There has to be a colossal disruption to break the current trajectory that we're going on. So we've got Trump and we've finally got climate change going so out of whack that it's hitting us and we're terrified. So we've got ecological and political chaos suddenly, which says, okay, we're in a mess. What's going to happen? Do we have the leadership? No. What does that mean? That means we've got to be the leaders. I can't see how else it's going to be done unless humanity is backed up in a corner and we have to look at ourselves and we have to go, wow, I was lying on the beach the other day and I was watching one of these megalithic cruise ships go past.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, that ship came out of the earth. What did they give back? And then I'm looking at everyone on the beach and all the cars. Yeah, every car came out of the earth. What are we going to give back? And it's like, look at these cities. Every one of those cities came out of the earth. What have we given back? And when you start to shift your mindset and you begin to look at us, wow, the Native American people, the First Nations people, you do not take without giving back. You do not take without asking permission. If you take, then you give. You take only as much as you need, and you make sure that you give back or you leave as much as is needed so that species can coexist with you. We stomp around this world going, oh, there's a forest. What can I make with it? Instead of, true. Here's a living system that enables me to breathe. Here's a living system that sifts the toxins out of the atmosphere.
What a gift.
Here's a living system that produces our rain. Nobody gets. They just think, oh, the rain falls from the sky. They don't think the Amazon rainforest is pumping flying rivers that are bigger than the Amazon itself to support rain around the world. Like, we live in this magical Garden of Eden and we're just going stomp, 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 slap, slap. I'm just going to, I just want this entertainment, that comfort. And that's, we've got this, we stand at this moment where we're being said, just look at yourself, really look at yourself. And I don't want to shame people into thinking that we're a bad species. I don't think we are. I think we're misguided. Yes. I think we're lost. I think we've been in a patriarchal society that has cut us off from our power.
I think there's more good than there are bad.
And that our natural state is a state of love because we long for it. Our natural state is a state of radical generosity because we feel good when we're giving. But it takes a friggin' disaster before we'll start giving to each other.
Everyone, even the villain, is the hero in his own story. There's always a reason why people are the way that they are. But I think the big key problem here is knowledge. I don't think that. I think maybe as kids, I don't know about you guys, but I played outside all the time and by myself because I was like you. I was a recluse. I had a pretty serious case of PTSD, so I I remained alone a lot. And I was outside, and I loved the earth. And as you get older and you go through life, you kind of all that starts to go away, and you start to think about, oh, okay, college. No, what am I supposed to do? No, what do you do next? What are the next steps? Well, it's not every formula is meant for you.
That's right.
And then it starts to come back to you. oh yeah, I loved this. There was a reason I loved this, you know, and then people need to like think about that there's consequences for everything that you do, and you have to come back to it. And I think that it's awesome that you're here on the show tonight so that there's more people who have knowledge of the things that we do. We don't even know that we're doing wrong.
That's the thing.
That's right.
I drive a Prius.
That's what I call collective momentum. Nice. Like there is literally momentum. Like we're used to thinking a certain way, and it's like a river going down a channel. Like we're in that river, and we're used to it, and we don't know to question. And then the fear is if we do start to question, we feel impotent because we haven't got a clue what to do. And that's where I'm saying that's why Tree Sisters to me is a real gift to the world, and it's showing up as a gift to the world because you got a place to give your gifts. You got a place to step up on behalf of the planet. You got a place to hang out with women who are in love with this world and who are trying to figure out and empower themselves. So if you're a woman out there right now who is freaked out about the world that you're leaving your children, that you know that you've got gifts that you're not tapped into and you don't know how to bring and you're afraid, that you're even maybe afraid of women, because I certainly was. Yeah. You know, and that you have to do something about climate change, come and join Tree Sisters. Like this is a place this is a place of love, it's a place of permission, it's a place of deep experimentation. I haven't got the answers, but I've got a heart that is willing to lay myself down for any woman who wants to have a go and say, right, hold my hand, let's have a go.
Awesome. Amen, Claire. And how do we become a part of Tree Sisters? And I know it's is it correct, over 47 different countries?
Well, we're planting right now over 1 million trees in 4 different countries. So we're planting right now in Madagascar, India, Brazil, and did I say India? India, Madagascar, Kenya, Brazil. Okay. And we're just about to right now, because we're just launching a major campaign as we speak. It's happening right now. Awesome. We're just bringing on a second project in India, a second project in Madagascar, an incredible one in Cameroon where we're reforesting around the remaining 250 of the last most endangered gorillas in Cameroon, in Africa, and another project in Nepal, the jungles of Nepal. So we're planting over 1 million trees. Right now, now that Maria has slammed through and now that, it's just like, okay, so 1 million trees looked really pretty for a second, but it's going to have to be 1 billion a year. So to get to 1 billion trees a year, we need 2 million women to step up. Okay. That's 2 million women who want to say, I can no longer go on without making ecological restoration part of the air that I breathe. So basically, you come and you join Tree Sisters. You can do it at treesisters.org, or you can come to billiontrees.me. And right now, I would say, because this week we've just launched this extraordinary interview series called Wild Hope for a New Humanity. And I've got the most staggering women that I'm interviewing. They're and women's worlds are being rocked.
Awesome.
Amazing.
And so that's happening this week. Again, if you just go to billiontrees.me, you can climb in. There's a Facebook group for all the women from all over the world. And then next week, we start my biggest, wildest experiment yet, which is 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks. So how long have we got?
We've probably got about 6.5 more minutes.
Okay, so I'll do this really quickly. So after my 9 months of incredible depression, everything I tried failed, and it got worse and worse. It failed more and more grandiosely. It was like, throw me on the floor and stamp on me type of failure. I said, okay, I get it. I'm doing it wrong. Tell me what to do. And the voice came back, the same voice, a male voice, on the same side of me, a left side. And it just said, you can do all of that, but you do it through the women. And I said, okay, tell me what a tree sister is. And it said, it's a woman who makes 5 choices: to be considerate of life, encouraging of her sisters, intimate with nature, responsible for its upkeep, and courageous with her gifts. And so I drew a 5-pointed star. I figured out where they went, and I realized that we had been given a change tool that was based in ancient sacred geometry. And this is a change tool that shows how the repression of the feminine principle is the root of climate change. And it also shows us how to come back into balance. So this 6-week consciousness shift campaign that I'm about to run is starting next week on Tuesday. It's free. Anyone around the world can do it. There's people from literally all around the world. I'm going to give a teaching each week. We're doing a global meditation each week, which is basically it's consciousness acupuncture. We're going into these 5 areas, which are called reveal, our willingness to open up to the magnificence that we are. Embrace, our willingness to open our hearts to each other. Embody, our willingness to understand that we are the earth. That's the feminine principle, those first 3. Activate, can we shift our relationship to nature? Shine, exactly what you're doing. Are you willing to bring your gifts and belong? Can we become a species that is of this planet and for this planet? 6 weeks, it's yours. You can do it. This is my first deepest expression of this body of work that I was given like 6 years ago, whenever it was, to bring to the world, to say, our world is only going to change if we change ourselves, and come on this journey with me and let's see what we can do. Give yourself to it and let's see who we can become together. So billiontrees.me, and you'll find the inner journey of awakening, and you'll also find the way to give to trees, because I'm going to ask deeply and sincerely right now, please, 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 from my heart, for your children, for the species of every species on this planet. We cannot go 1 second further taking this life for granted and not realizing that we live inside of a miracle, a profound, exquisite miracle that we are trashing on a daily basis. And if you feel that you can carry on just trashing your hair on a daily basis and not doing anything about it, I would ask you please to ask yourself why. What is in the way? Because that is not your natural state. And when you open your heart and when you let yourself feel, you will need to do something. And I'm going to ask, one of the things that you do, make it your absolute commitment to give back to this life, and give it in the form of trees. Help the carbon that you are pumping into the atmosphere every day lock itself down so that we can restabilize our world. And you can do that at billiontrees.me. Please make giving money for trees every month literally part of the air that you breathe, and give as much as you can. This is not a throwaway gesture. Oh, I'll do this little bit over there and everything else stays the same. If we're going to change this, and we can change this, this is full steam ahead. And this is a privilege. This is not a burden. This is a privilege.
Amazing, Claire, amazing. And Victoria, we got to hear your beautiful voice today, and I know your passion for life and giving back as well, and women empowerment. So grateful to have you too.
Thank you.
You know, and we want to hear you more. Where are you going to be singing next? How can we find you?
Okay, so I'm singing next at a film festival, actually. I don't remember what the exact... I think it's the end of November. I'll have to find out for sure. I'll let you know. But you can follow me at Victoria Renee Plummer on Instagram. Okay. And I'll be posting all my show dates there, and on Facebook, Victoria Renee Music.
Perfect. We're also going to put it on my social media as well. And it's funny because I always have these grandiose ideas, and I want to save the world and do all these fabulous things too. So, and we will. And as I was driving over here, it's like I've been talking about a charity event with my organization, my nonprofit, Life Angels, with a Z on the end of it. And I was like, St. Jude's, and you motivated me, inspired me. And then listening to your story and watching you on YouTube, and my heart just started growing and growing over the last 24 hours, even more. And I thought, well, why don't we do a charity event? We can raise money for the kids, raise money for the world, raise money for women, raise money for whatever we can. So I'm actually going to be hosting a red carpet celebrity event in December. I know it's a busy time of year, but it's the best time to do it. We're going to do Toys for Tots and Toys for the
I sang at that last year.
Yes, so we're going to be doing toy drives. And I know Brian thinks I'm crazy, but I don't care. I'm doing it anyway, because at one difference at a time, we're going to change the world. And no one's going to stop us. We are here today. We're sponsored by Swatfield. We're also sponsored by Buzz Pops and Quest Nutrition. We're here every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Claire Dubois, thank you so much for everything you're doing in life. And Victoria Plummer, both amazing women. Check them out on their social media platforms. We'll be
come
here.
And find me.
Yes,
Claire Dubois on Facebook. Find me, but also Tree Sisters on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else, and treesisters.org and billiontrees.me.
Awesome. And TLC Unleashed under Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll see you next week, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then.